All right, let's dive in. We're tackling Anthony Robbins' Potter Sin Limits, or Unlimited Power for those who haven't read the Spanish version. It's a book jam-packed with tools and strategies, but today we're zeroing in on what we think are the absolute most potent takeaways.
You know, one thing that struck me about this book, Robbins doesn't just skim the surface with feel-good advice. He really digs into the nitty-gritty, the psychology, the neurology. It's about how our minds and bodies work together to actually shape the reality we experience.
It's not just wishful thinking. It's about rewiring your system. And speaking of rewiring, one of the most fascinating concepts in the book is this idea of modeling excellence.
Yeah. And this isn't about like copying someone's clothes or their mannerisms. It's way deeper than that. We're talking about replicating the actions, the mental and physical actions of people who've already achieved what you want.
So it's like finding a proven blueprint instead of starting from scratch. But how does this modeling thing actually work? What's the logic behind it?
Well, think about it. Our neurological systems, they're remarkably similar. We humans were wired to learn by observing and repeating. So let's say you want to write a best-selling novel, right? Instead of just dreaming about it, study the habits of successful authors. How do they write? What are their routines? What's their process?
You're basically reverse engineering their success. Pretty smart. And Robbins gives some really compelling examples of people who've used this technique.
Oh, yeah, tons. Yeah. One that comes to mind, Steve Spielberg. I mean, the guy directed Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park. He knew he wanted to be a director from a really young age. But instead of waiting around hoping for a lucky break, he started modeling the actions of directors he admired.
So he wasn't just watching movies for fun, he was studying them.
Exactly. He'd dissect those films, looking at camera angles, editing, how the stories were structured. Heck, he even snuck onto studio lots just to watch directors in action.
Wow, talk about dedication. So it's about understanding the why behind their choices, not just blindly copying.
100%. And Spielberg, he took it even further. He was constantly making films, experimenting, seeing what worked, what didn't. Then he'd refine his approach based on those results.
He wasn't afraid of failure. He used it as a learning opportunity, which is so crucial, right? You have to be willing to make mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about copying. It's about understanding, adapting. You're taking that blueprint and making it your own.
Modeling gives you a framework, a head start, but it still takes work. But even with the best blueprint, your own beliefs can either hold you back or propel you forward. And that leads us to another big idea from Potter Sin Limits, the power of belief.
Robbins is really adamant about this. Our beliefs, whether we're aware of them or not, shape our reality. Believe you can achieve something and you'll act in ways that make it more likely to happen.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? But what about those times when you're just riddled with self-doubt?
Well, even those limiting beliefs, Robbins says they're just thoughts we've repeated so often that they've taken root.
So if beliefs are just thoughts, can we actually choose to change them?
Absolutely. But to change them, we have to understand where they come from in the first place.
And in the book, Robbins actually lays out 5 key ways those beliefs are formed.
Right. And the first one's pretty obvious, our environment. Think about how you were raised, the people you were around, the messages you absorbed. All of that shapes your beliefs from a very young age.
It's like inheriting certain beliefs from your surroundings. And then there are the big life events, right?
Oh, yeah. Those can be huge. I mean, a moment of triumph could make you believe in your own resilience, while a traumatic experience might make you believe the world is a dangerous place.
Our experiences kind of become filters for how we see things. But what about knowledge, the things we learn? Does that shape our beliefs too?
Definitely. The information we take in, what we study, it all influences our understanding of what's possible and what's not.
So even the books we read, the podcasts we listen to, can shape our beliefs.
For sure. And then there are our results, the successes and failures we've had. They can reinforce what we already believe or challenge it. Like, if you keep failing at something, you might start believing you're just not good at it.
It's like our brains are constantly making sense of our experiences, and those interpretations become our beliefs. But Robbins has one more way our beliefs are formed, and this one's a little mind-bending.
He calls it mental rehearsal. Basically, by vividly imagining something, experiencing it as if it's already happened, you can actually shift your beliefs.
So it's like training your brain to believe in a new reality by repeatedly experiencing it in your mind.
Precisely. And there's actually some fascinating neuroscience behind this. When we vividly imagine something, our brains light up in a similar way as if we were actually experiencing it.
Wow, so our thoughts really do have the power to shape our reality.
Absolutely, which is why it's so important to choose empowering beliefs over limiting ones.
So instead of dwelling on past failures, we should be visualizing our successes, feeling them as if they've already happened.
Exactly. By consciously choosing our beliefs, we can break free from those self-limiting patterns and start creating the life we truly want.
That's powerful stuff. But how do we know which beliefs are holding us back? And how do we actually go about changing them? Well, that's what we'll explore in the next part of this deep dive. So we've covered modeling excellence and how powerful our beliefs can be. But Robbins throws in another concept that I think is key, this idea of mastering your state.
Yeah, this is where Sin Limites really gets interesting. It dives deep into this for a reason.
I'll admit, the word state always throws me off a bit. It's a little vague. It's just like a fancy way of saying mood.
It's a bit more than that. It's more like, think of it as your mind-body control panel. It's your energy level, your focus, yeah, your emotions too, but also your posture, even your breathing, it all feeds into it.
Okay, I see. But why is this state so important in the whole scheme of things, according to Robbins?
Because it basically dictates how you act, how you react to things. Think about it. If you're stressed out, feeling overwhelmed, are you going to make good decisions? Probably not.
Oh, I know that feeling. When I'm in that state, I just want to procrastinate or just shut down completely.
Right. But now imagine you're feeling energized, focused, confident. You're going to approach challenges completely differently. You'll perform better, think more creatively, be more resilient.
So Robbins is saying we're not just at the mercy of our emotions. We can actually learn to control them. That almost sounds too good to be true.
It does, right. But he gives some pretty convincing examples in the book. He talks about firewalking, where people walk across those hot coals.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by that. It seems like some kind of superhuman feat, mind over matter.
It does, doesn't it? But Robbins, and he's led tons of people through firewalks, says it all boils down to mastering your state. Those who can walk across those coals without getting burned, they've learned how to shift their mental and emotional state to one of complete confidence and focus.
So it's not about ignoring the pain or some kind of special physical ability.
Nope. It's about realizing that fear and doubt trigger a stress response in your body, which can actually make you more likely to get hurt. When you shift to confidence and focus, you calm down your nervous system, your body can function the way it's supposed to.
That's wild. But how do we actually learn to control our state? Where do we even begin?
Well, Robbins emphasizes the link between our physiology and our state. Simple things like how you're breathing, your diet, your posture can have a massive impact on how you feel.
So it's not just about positive thinking. It's about taking care of our physical bodies too.
Absolutely. Robbins even argues that changing your physiology is often the quickest way to change your state.
Okay, that's interesting. So what are some specific ways we can, hack our physiology to change our state?
One of the easiest, most effective things Robbins recommends is deep breathing. Taking those slow, deep breaths, it instantly calms your nervous system, reduces stress hormones, increases energy.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that when I'm anxious, taking a few deep breaths really helps.
Exactly. It's like hitting the reset button. Robbins also talks a lot about posture. He says to adopt what he calls empowering postures, standing tall, shoulders back, head high.
So it's not just about looking confident, it's about actually feeling confident.
Right. Those postures, they don't just project confidence outwardly, they also signal to your brain that you're in control, ready to take on challenges.
So by changing how we hold ourselves physically, we can kind of trick our minds into feeling more confident.
In a way, yeah. You're using that mind-body connection to create the state you want to be in.
This is all starting to click. If we can control our state, we can control our reactions, our behavior, and ultimately get the results we want.
That's the takeaway here. You're not a slave to your emotions. You have the power to choose how you feel. And that means choosing how you respond to anything life throws at you.
Man, it's amazing how these three concepts, modeling, belief, and state, they all tie together. It's like Robbins has given us this roadmap to, really reaching our full potential.
It is, isn't it? And what I find so cool is that they don't just work individually. They work together. They amplify each other. Modeling helps you see those beliefs and strategies that successful people use. Understanding belief lets you ditch the self-limiting stuff and replace it with those empowering beliefs. And then mastering your state, that's how you make sure you're consistently taking action to actually get the results you're after.
Like a chain reaction. Each element makes the others even more powerful. But Okay, how does this translate into real-life change? Where do you even start?
Well, Potterson Limits is full of practical strategies, but honestly, the real magic happens when you start using these ideas in your own life. It's about taking action.
So not just reading the book and feeling inspired, it's about doing something with it. But what if you're feeling a little overwhelmed? Like there's so much here. Where do you focus your energy?
That's a good question. That's where going back to modeling can be really helpful. Think of someone you admire, someone who embodies those qualities you want to cultivate in yourself.
Okay, so like if I wanted to be a better public speaker, I might study someone like, well, Tony Robbins himself.
Yeah, exactly. See how they structure their talks, how they connect with the audience, their voice, their body language. But remember, it's not about becoming a clone.
Yeah.
It's about figuring out what makes them work and then adapting those principles to your own personality, your own strengths.
Finding what works for you, not trying to be someone else. Got it.
Right. And that's where that power of belief comes in again. You got to believe that you can actually achieve what you're setting out to do.
But what if you're dealing with that self-doubt? You know, that little voice saying you're not good enough, not smart enough.
That's when you have to challenge those thoughts head on. Ask yourself, is this belief even true? Is there evidence to support it? A lot of times those negative beliefs, they're based on stuff that happened in the past, messages we picked up, not actual facts.
So instead of letting those negative thoughts take over, we need to consciously replace them with beliefs that empower us. How do you actually do that in a way that sticks?
You know, one really effective way is to create affirmations, those positive statements you repeat to yourself, but phrase them like they're already true.
So instead of saying, I want to be more confident, you'd say, I am confident.
Exactly. The more you say it, the more you start to believe it subconsciously.
It sounds so simple, but I can see how it could be powerful. But what about those times when you're stressed, you're tired, maybe a bit burnt out? How do you keep going when you just don't feel like it?
That's where mastering your state becomes super important. Remember, your physiology plays a huge role. So if you're feeling sluggish, get moving. Do some deep breathing. Listen to some music that pumps you up, whatever it takes to shift your energy.
It's like we have all these tools, but we just forget to use them sometimes.
It's true. And the more you practice these techniques, the easier it becomes to manage your state, to create that positive, productive mindset.
So just to bring it all together, we've learned that modeling gives us a plan, beliefs shape our reality, and our state influences our actions. And by putting all these pieces together, we can really unlock our potential.
And remember, this is just a taste of what Robbins covers in Potterson Limits. It's a book that can really change your life if you're ready to put in the effort.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought to leave you with. If you could model anyone's skill or success, who would it be? And what's one small step you can take, like today, to start moving towards that vision?
This deep dive's just the beginning. Now it's time for you to take what you've learned and create the life you want.